I've always thought if somebody has seen them and likes the movie Dirty Work, there's no chance I won't like them. My next guest proves that to me. Welcome aboard on this episode, Rusty Diamond, on this episode of the Scho-Zone. And then, fuck, no. I'm going to, whatever. We're just going to live with the warts and all of it. Let me just get my little video here. All right, everybody, welcome to the Scho-Zone. It is your host, Ryan Schofield, coming at you from the DeGen here. Thanks, like, subscribe, comment, all that bullshit that podcast hosts say. I'm not really the master of words and intros. I did a cold open here, but without further ado, I should say, last week I'd made my first podcast appearance in a very, very long time, and ever since then it's created a monster. And I have with me the gentleman who's responsible for that. Welcome to the Scho-Zone, Mr. Rusty Diamond.
Dude, fuck, I'm glad you were on the show. I can say the F word. Is that okay?
Oh, 100%. Fucking
okay.
let's just let it rip. I mean, you can say the other F word if you want to do too. I mean, you just got to face the consequences. I don't give a shit.
That's cool. Yeah. All right.
I mean, there's no, you save that one for special uses. Like, it's okay that we've gotten rid of some swear words or, some slurs, I guess I could say, but obviously one of them really never needs to be used ever again, but certain ones like,
and I hope those other words get that way. I don't know if they can or not, but I hope they go that way. Just like, so there was an episode of South Park when the kids were all into, I don't know if you're a South Park guy.
Oh, I love South Park. Seriously. Yeah. I used to love doing Cartman impressions.
Okay, well, there was one of the first episodes, or one of the first seasons, they had one about Chimpokemon, and the way that they made it not cool was that eventually all the adults got into it, and then the kids find out, oh yeah, that's not cool anymore, and then move on to something else. I think you have to get enough not cool people saying that stuff to an extent where it becomes not cool, or but you got to make sure it's the right not cool people to do it. It can't be, a certain not cool. Like, I don't know how to explain that best, but there are certain people, I don't know if I can name them yet, but I want to find out who these people are and get them to just overuse those words to such an extent where all these words that give people all of a sudden some sort of reaction that's gonna send them the wrong way, probably, to just have it be a word that means nothing.
So I thought it was funny. I'm a big sports guy, and a couple of years ago, they wanted to make this, campaign for them to not say the N word on the field of play. They were going to make a penalty out of it, and I'm kind of like, I think it's, they never actually really called it, because it's like, 75% of the players on there use that word pretty freely, and the ones that shouldn't use it, I think that they have to face worse consequences than a 10-yard penalty. So,
right. Very true. And I mean, you get stuff like going back to, like a John Rocker or something, or a Marge Shot.
Marge Shot was a bit, that was a bit much. John Rocker, I mean, it's, I got to admit, it was like being the guy interviewing John Rocker, where he kind of just asked a simple question about New York, and John Rocker's like, "How long do you have?" He was like Clayton Bigsby, like, "How long do you have?" Like, and it just took on a life of its own.
And then, became most of the basis for Kenny Powers, which is fucking amazing.
It's one. So I know you seemed like when I was on your show, you're not a huge baseball guy, but I feel like that.
No, I like. Dude, yeah, no, I'm a baseball guy, man. Like, from I used to be very into it when I was growing up. So like 80s and 90s baseball, I could probably talk all day. 20 whatever fucking year it is, I was gonna say 2014, 2015, but 2024, 20-ish. Like, I don't know a bunch about what's going on, but I was very into baseball growing up, and I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan, and Mets fan. So, but, and some of those have been hard to to be those fans, but I mean that's where I lived, and so that, and I don't like the Mariners. There's a lot of people where I'm from that are big Mariners fans and
Is there
Seahawks
big
fans.
Mariners fans? I went out to Seattle. I mean,
Yeah, they're
their
all kind
definition
of
of big
bitches there.
fans maybe run a little different than others. Like I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. When I went out there, I went out for a Cardinals game. We owned the stadium, the fans,
Yeah,
and I also was thinking, it was one of those things where I had easier time. It was one of the hardest times at finding a hot dog at a ballpark.
and oh yeah, dude, because yeah, maybe you can get a Korean dog. What?
There was like a fish dog or something like that, or
Yeah,
like a salmon dog. Like it's just like, all right, like come on, it's a baseball game. Now that's a previous life ago, but my parameters used to be, if you invite me somewhere, there better be hot dogs and or beer, or else I'm probably not going to have a good time. That's kind of the environments I liked hanging out with, and still had a good time there, obviously. But I know that when I was out on the town, that was when I was still drinking. I did not really. They didn't like my vibe too much in Seattle, I don't think.
No, they would fucking hate you up there, man. Like, I'm not trying to like be a dick or like, but like I could understand. Like, I'm pretty good at understanding. Like, there's places that I go, and like, for instance, I was like a month ago. My mom was in town. We went up to near Allentown, and
You gotta be careful. Okay, we're back.
okay. We were up near Allentown, Pennsylvania, and she, like, it was where her her grandma lived, or great grandma or some shit, and she wanted to go knock on the door and be like, "Hey, I have a picture of this place," and she's asked if I wanted to go up, and I was like, I can't fucking walk up to a door in so many, like, for one, walking up to a door and just knocking on the door. Like, if I show up somewhere, like, because I have a face a lot of times where people want to like get in fights with me without me even saying anything. I just have a very punchable face for a lot of the time. And I know that, man. But like, yeah, like, I wouldn't see a lot of people in Seattle being too into your vibe. And that's totally all right. It's an okay spot not to be. I don't really want to go back to Seattle. Last time I was in Seattle, I did a show, their wrestling show, at this place called El Corazon, and it was I wasn't wrestling, but I was, because I think I was injured or something at the time, and I was managing this guy, and he used to have like a cat kind of gimmick, and I had wanted for a long time to come out to Two Live Crew, We Want Some Pussy, and no fucking promoters would let me do it. And then this show, I had this guy come out, and I got to go out and fucking run around, running up and down the fucking aisles, like yell, trying to get people to fucking sing along. And some people knew the words, I guess, but yeah, it wasn't quite how I wanted it to be. But yeah, Seattle's kind of a weird place. I spent a lot of time there. From like 2003 to 2006, I had a girlfriend that went to school up there. So I would spend a lot of time there. Also got in the Guinness Book of World Records there for most people in one place at one time wearing Groucho Marx disguises. So my name wasn't like in the thing, but I just stumbled upon it. It was at UW, like for some, I don't know, like a back to school kind of thing. And, since I was just there kind of fucking off, not going to school, I stumbled upon that. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll do it. And got to keep those glasses. I don't know. There's a fucking weird thing for someone to think of. Like, a lot of records are fucking weird. Like, I could be the person who can do this the best. And I always wanted to be like one of those, but like, I don't know. I really think it would be cool to have another book. There probably is one already of stuff that you don't have in the Guinness Book of World Records. But then you might get some really weird shit. And I feel then, yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, we're in content creation. That's somebody out there is trying to find, okay, I'm going to be the person that does this. I actually did the day, like 2 days after I met with you, I was talking to some guy who's, I actually might have on the podcast, a guy named David B, who's writing a book called F Retail, which is kind of where my life is going. I need to get the hell out of that self-made prison I have myself in. And he was kind of like just showing like, all these people, like how much money they make doing the dumbest shits possible. It's just that if you're the only one doing it, that's why I started doing live streams of video blackjack on my YouTube channel. I'm like,
Ooh,
I'm
that's
like,
a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like it started off because so like about 2 weeks ago, or we're on 18 days now, I quit smoking pot. So that's
Okay.
freed up some money in the budget, and I'm like, hey, I had a day off. I'm like, normally because I live in New York, which is a terrible state for many many reasons,
Well, to
and
smoke pot too, to pay for pot.
but whereabouts I live in New York, I live in the Albany area, and we are very close to a lot of different state borders. So there's a really nice, relaxing drive where, remember back in the day, you would actually go for a drive to clear your head. I go with this nice scenic, fairly scenic, I guess I'd say, just a straight line out to Berkshire, Massachusetts. They had the best stuff there. I then stopped doing that, where I was realizing I was dropping about $200 every 10 days or so because, I had
shit.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I thought, well, because I transferred one addiction to the other. We used to be a raging drunk, and then I fucking started, doing I get out of work, I go home, and I smoke a shit ton of pot, and I go to bed.
How do you smoke it? What do you do? What's your choice here?
I was usually kind of a crackhead type. Like I pack up a bowl and it's like, let's try and shove this thing down. Like if I don't cough, I don't get off is the expression kind of deal.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Then I started transitioning to the edibles a little bit on top of that too. But, I get some good ones. You don't buy those ones over the counter. You get, because they kind of a 5 milligram edible. If that does something for you, good for you. That's just fucking like, that's a breath mint for me at this point. Like, which is probably why I had to stop doing that. So I kind of calmed that down a little bit, which is actually, I kind of started a little downward spiral after your show. When I was on your show, I had a coupon.
Fuck yes. Look at me.
I had a coupon for a free 5-hour energy drink. Fucking, they have their energy drink now. It says it has less caffeine than a Bang in it, but I used to kind of my morning routine. Like I used to love when I don't have to go to work, the feeling, the taste of a bowl and or bong and a nice cup of coffee. It was just like, which is so counterintuitive. It was such a great thing, but I wanted to be, bring my A game on your show, which I felt like I did a good job on your show.
You did great.
So I had that energy drink, and then I went to watch baseball with my buddy because he's a big Mets fan, and we hung out, and it's like, at the end of the day, I was still wound up. So that perpetuated a cycle of things where I didn't fall asleep so easily. And then I just kind of carried on these couple of days, and I realized I was just drinking way too much coffee. I actually have decaf coffee now, which most people think is crazy, that I legitimately love the taste of coffee. Like I still drink NA beers and I still drink fucking coffee. I still love the taste of them.
I was going to bring that up, dude, because you said you don't drink, and I saw you drinking a non-alcoholic beer, and I was like, holy shit, okay, dude, you're one of the people who, so then you said the decaf coffee, and I was going to bring that up. I was going to say, oh, okay, and the non-alcoholic beer. And
I drink coffee black. I mean, that's really, I'm not, I do that because I really like the taste of coffee.
What kind of coffee do you drink? What do you like to drink?
I mostly, I used to have it great back in the town I lived in for a while. They had this awesome coffee shop, and they actually had a bumper sticker that said "True friends don't let friends drink Starbucks" or something like that, which was
Starbucks forever. Back to fuck Seattle, man.
I mean, fuck Caribou. That was what we discussed on your show, actually, too. But I would wake up. It was like just right down the road, and I knew the baristas, I guess you'd call it. It was one of those things where it used to be a self-serve place before COVID, where you would just walk in, and I mean, literally, they could be doing whatever, and I'm just like, hey, my $2 is on the counter. Have a good one, guys. But they had a rotate. I remember I did a marketing plan, or somebody in my college class did a marketing plan on them. They imported all of their own beans and roasted them in-house. So every day they had a different light roast and a different dark roast, a different flavored coffee and a different decaf. So I mixed it around. I typically like a good light roast for the most part. But I mean, at this point, I can drink fucking the store's coffee. I mean, it's as long as it's black and it's made, not too strong, but not too weak. There's a very, very fine zone. I personally like making my own coffee, and it's one of the best financial decisions you can make is making your own coffee.
What do you do for making your own coffee? What is your
I have
method?
I have a Mr. Coffee. I'm old school, man. Fucking,
Okay.
no need to no need to make this fancy. Anybody that goes to that nth degree, like it's not the quality of it is not that much better in my estimation. Like I've never like when I go to airports or when I'm traveling around and I, just want to give it a shot, like I've never been like, holy shnikes, I'm blown away by this cup of coffee. There's a freaking gas station by me that for $2 you get a large of it. I actually was trying to wean myself off this. I didn't get a great night's sleep last night, so I did. And I felt so dirty buying it. I'm turning into the Geico commercial. I spent $2 on a cup of coffee, and I'm like, I could have spent $7 on a fucking month's worth of this shit. Like
Yeah. I'm a gas station coffee guy. I like 7-Eleven coffee. I like a lot of gas stations coffees. I'm cool with it, dude. And yeah, but like
as long
every
as it's not in
morning,
styrofoam, as long as it's not styrofoam, and that's not like me being an environments guy. That's just I just feel like trash drinking out of styrofoam.
same with, well, a lot of Mexican restaurants still use styrofoam cups too. That's like the one place besides coffee shops that I see
They're gonna pick it up anyways.
styrofoam. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, like I'll make a cup in the morning. I got just some grounds. Like I don't know, nothing fancy. It's like a single. You put your coffee cup under. You have to have the right coffee cup.
I know exactly what you're. I lived with a guy that had that. You do the fresh ground, and then you just have like a little single shot thing kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean it's not fresh ground. It's in a can. I got a can.
Oh, you got a can. My buddy would
coffee.
actually buy the beans, whole beans, and had the little mini grinder, and then would just kind of grind it up and then make But I don't know that there's really that much of a difference in whether I get the freaking free, stuff in the regular can or again, it's just all kind of sounds like more prestigious. It's the stuff
Like
you kind of
wine
do. It's the
beer.
stuff you do to impress women. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm cool with showing off that, hey, I like this fucking stuff in a can. I got some like toffee butterscotch kind, which has been like my go-to for now for a long time. It used to be like buy one kind of thing and then get a different kind all the time. And I've just been stuck on this one. It's been good. There was some fucking or some little diner in Meriden, Connecticut that we go to. And it's this little shit place. The guy and his wife there were both, they're like, everyone was just kind of an asshole in there, but in a good way to everyone. Like, this is our kind of place here. This is great. I love this.
Oh, like not like fully Dick's Last Resort where it's an act. It's like legitimate. Because
it's like legitimate. It's just fucking people being people, fucking telling it as it is. And that's kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Love my hometown of Troy, New York,
dude. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, man, and the West Coast, dude, it's so fucked up. Like, and Canada and Minnesota, like, dude, it's all fucking this. It's all the Minnesota nice. The fucking like we were talking about. It's the fucking super passive aggressive weird shit. And I've never liked that. No, it was so hard growing up, acting that way and being around a lot of people that act that way. And then, I mean, yeah, once. I don't know, like being out this part of the country has been fucking great. It was just so weird, man. I hated that shit.
This with the coffee thing, it always reminds me of I'm a huge, and you could probably tell I have a little bit of an influence of him. I love Dennis Leary, and he had that old bit back in the day, coffee flavored coffee, which was so far ahead of its time. I mean, that was something in the 90s where it was just like, when, that was when they took smoking out of these places. And he was like, it's like, what the fuck's the logic in that? He's like, I'm pretty sure coffee was invented by a bunch of guys sitting there smoking.
Right.
Who fucking said, hey, let's invent something to drink so we can stay up and fucking smoke more. It was kind of the whole thing.
I miss smoking places.
I did and I didn't. I remember it being exciting when I one time, because New York was one of the first states to have a smoking ban. And I wasn't 21 yet, so I didn't hang out in bars. And I remember going to St. Louis, and it's just one of those things. I'm like, if you wear a nice shirt and if you're in a crowded place, you're just asking for it to get burned up. And there's a certain smell of things you can just never really wash out. And
yeah,
it's not the worst thing. I mean, if you go to a certain casinos in Vegas, it's like, that's just, you could make it non-smoking. It's never going to get that smell out of there.
Right. Yeah, dude. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the places like that, it's still kind of that way. Or even this diner that I was talking about, dude, like it still smelled like cigarettes. And like, I don't know when last time, you could smoke in there, or, yeah, a lot of casinos still have that smell. And, I mean, I probably still have clothes that I've kept where you used to smoke inside and probably still smell that shit wouldn't fucking go away. It was pretty crazy. It's weird now. It's a really weird time that people don't smell like cigarettes or weed a lot. It's very uncommon now for someone.
It's funny how when you do those things, you don't notice the smell of them quite as bad. Like
Right.
when I was in high school, one of our things that we used to love to do was we would, skip a class or whatever. We'd get in the car, we'd bake it out, and then this is before we even had a phone to take a video of it. Our entertainment was to smoke as much as we could in a car, give each other shotguns and like try to make each other pass out by freaking, doing all that. And then we would run out of the car to watch all the smoke billow out and then go back to class and go like, oh, no one's going to know. Like,
yeah. No one's going to have any clue, man. We let it air out. We rolled down the windows for 2 minutes.
Yeah. And then now it's like, if I work with somebody, they still cut a butt every now and again. And it's like, you can smell them from 20 feet away. And I'm like, I don't even, I'm like, geez, I used to, all of the horrible lies I used to tell my mother. I'm just like, wow, what a fucking dickhead. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't smoking. What are you talking about? I was by a campfire.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. Yeah. It was weird. Like they got it pretty easy now, just being able to rip these little fucking pens, now, like, vape cigarettes or, weed or whatever. Yeah, dude, like you could sit inside, like, well, I don't know, 12 years ago. Yeah, I lived in a place and I could smoke. I had like a little sunroom off my room and I could smoke cigarettes in there, but like, I don't know. I can't imagine smoking cigarettes in a place right now. Like, it's such a weird concept now, but you can just fucking rip these little shits.
So I remember I almost got into it, and I thankfully didn't think it happened. But when the bars kind of stopped them down, I lived in a town, and there was a diner owner who was Greek, and he just decided to light up cigarettes in the bar, and made it kind of a bit of an uncomfortable situation. And I remember I made that analogy about being dressed up, and all I could say, he was like, "Oh, what the hell? You go to a bar to drink and smoke and swear and stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I get that, but like, can you have a little respect for the bartender, kind of?" And I remember kind of walking over to him and being like, "You're wearing a really nice shirt. How much would it suck if somebody accidentally burned a cigarette on it," kind of thing. And it was, people were like, "Hey, back off. Like, you don't really know who he is, Ryan." And I'm like, I was a dickhead like that. But one thing, Rusty, I'm trying to figure out with you is because, you give me these links here, and across the bottom here, I've got the most possible. And you said that was a light version of this. You are somebody is of great allure to me, because I would say you've made it all the way around the country here. You just mentioned that being a wrestler, you just you're a stand-up comedian, you're a hypnotist. What's the I mean, you move around all the time, it seems like, too. I mean, what's your story with all that? Like, what's your primary source of income, I guess I would say, if you don't mind me asking?
Dude, like, I don't know, man. I'm a stay-at-home cat dad.
Okay.
It's my primary source of income.
You have an Instagram for your cats?
No, not yet, man. Fucking Shithead and Leon Black.
Shithead. My uncle had a cat named Shithead.
Dude, fucking, I was way into the jerk, man, and so like I was like, I gotta. He was a pain in the ass when we got him, and then he became like the best cat, and so like the Shithead just kind of stuck. Like, we should change his name, and then decided no, we'll keep it, and so now
you could just call him Shafid.
Yeah, we'd call him Shed. We'd tell all the neighbor kids his name was Shed, and then that worked. It's fun at the vet. The vet, like, it's the one that we have right now. They told us like they want to have it be Shithead so they can say it in the lobby. Because like, yeah, you can call him, Shed or Shitty or whatever, but like, so they gotta go, yeah, Shithead, come on back, Shithead and Leon Black. Because then I have this other cat we got when we were living in Salt Lake City.
Around the globe, around the country you go, man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Salt Lake City was a trip, and so we had a cat, and one of the cats died, and so we were going to get another cat, and fucking so we go to the pound near us, and there's a deal for black cats are free because it's Black History Month. So all black animals were free.
Wait, was this in that? This was in Salt Lake City, though, right?
This was in Salt Lake City, which
so
makes
there was nobody really to complain about it, except for Carl Malone, maybe.
Yeah, Carl Malone, who fucking had a 13-year-old that he got pregnant. Yeah, who's the fucking? There's a Carl Malone Drive right next to John Stockton Avenue or whatever it is.
It's like, I think that's why Jimmy Kimmel gets the pass for his old sketch that he used to do on the Man Show, is that, you know, even though Malone, for him to be a wokey now, for that to be like one of the most, like, him and like Howard Stern's a fucking piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. Like, he was just as bad, and it's hilarious that he perpetuated this culture that he now hates. He's the one that invented it. He's the one that made it okay, and then now it's like, well, I'm still going to keep all my money, and I'm just going to tell you that you guys all suck now. Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty what happened with that. Because, I was pretty into it, man. You know.
Well, Artie Lang and Jackie Martling, it's like, apparently once you became too funny, you just had to leave the show. I mean, Artie had to leave for different reasons, but...
Right. Man, someone was just talking about that yesterday. Or was I don't know, maybe I was watching something, or I feel someone was talking about it. But I don't know, man, about Artie and his time on Stern, but...
Artie's pretty okay about it, or at least when he was still in the public light. But he was talking about how he's like, Howard, you know, he changed his ways. He's like, all he did was let me make a living. He's like, he put up with a lot of shit for me, but he's like, now he wants to interview Gwyneth Paltrow, and the people that are in charge of Gwyneth Paltrow do everything in their power to make sure that she's never in the same room with somebody like me. So he's like, there's just no fit for it anymore.
Yeah, dude, he can. I don't know, man. He's good. Like, he can retire. I don't know what his fan base is now. Like, who he didn't like kind of leave feeling this way. I feel like a lot of his fan base probably would have had this same sort of reaction to it. But obviously not. Obviously, there's still a lot of people who are very big fans of Stern. Oh no, what did I do? What happened? Oh shit. Uh-oh. I hope it's a good picture. Oh no. Where's my phone? I hope that Ryan gets to see this. I don't know if he will or not, but welcome here to the show, everyone. This is what you get. This is what you're paying the big bucks for to be watching. You get Rusty Diamond right fucking here. Whatever that means to anyone. There's some fucking dude here drinking some tea because I am doing that. You guys can, I don't know, I'll fucking put myself over for a while, I guess. You can check out all this stuff down here at the bottom. All you really need to do, though, is go to rustydiamond.net. I have probably most of my stuff there, but I bet I don't have everything. I bet I haven't put pop-up healing on there, which is something else you should check out, because pop-up healing is the real fucking deal. That's me and 3 other healers who heal the fuck out of people. We're not super woo-woo. We're a little woo-woo, but we're also real motherfuckers. So if that's your kind of style for feeling better, that's what we do. You might like it, you might not. If not, there's a zillion others. Go check them out. You should heal yourself at some point for something. You got Instagram and TikTok. I don't really do that shit. And oh man,
I'm back in here right now.
You're back.
did a little emergency. Thankfully, I used to be a cell phone salesman, and I realized I could use my hotspots, which weird. Weirdly, I'm using the same network that my internet is. But I'm able to hotspot this one. So hopefully that's a little hiccup here. Thankfully, I've had you on a show before, and if my face starts getting as red as my shirt, it's understandable. We'll just say I'm never ever home. Like I literally am the type of guy that I could I could live in an 8x8, which one point in my life was a very good possibility, I must say, but I don't have. I'm never really here, so I don't know whatever happens when I'm gone here. Like there was actually a time that happened here where I was at work and I was telling a story to somebody, and someone's like, "Do we just have an earthquake?" And when you're in upstate New York, you're never expecting that to be the case. And I was like, "He's like, did you hear the ground shake?" And I'm like, "I just thought I had too much coffee." To be honest with you, kind of bring this all full circle. I get home and it's a good thing that someone mentioned that, or that I was thinking of what would happen like 20 years before I wouldn't have seen on social media or gotten text or anything. I came home and I locked my door and my TV is just laying face down. And I would have never, ever known what the hell had happened. And then ironically, a couple months later, I did a bad job of putting it back up on its little pegs. And then I was dusting the entertainment stand and the TV fell over and cracked on its face. So, which was lovely because I had just won a bunch of money on Teoscar Hernandez in the home run derby. So now my TV I bought Willie with the money I won that night is named Teoscar.
Okay, you got a name for your television. Okay, that's good.
And we seem to have frozen on here. Okay, you're frozen. This is going to be the worst episode I've ever done, apparently, and has nothing to do with you. It's just going to be that it was bound.
Oh no. Well, now it's just fucked. Yo.
Okay. So did you just hear anything I just said there? This is
not at all.
Okay. Well, as I was saying, I'm like, I never know what happens when I'm gone here. And that's now I'm having a rare day off. And yeah, that was fucking awesome. I was talking about how there was an earthquake in upstate New York.
Oh, okay. Oh no, here it goes again.
I never would have known about. And I thankfully was like, oh, that's probably the earthquake. And I did a really, really makeshift job of putting it back because I had to get right to the bong hit, obviously. And then I was dusting that same entertainment stand after the home run derby where I had bet Teoscar Hernandez, and my TV fell flat down and cracked. So I ended up taking all the money I wanted Teoscar Hernandez and buying a TV that night. And now my TV's name's Teoscar. But
works out all right.
I can't wait to watch this back or listen to it back. It's probably going to make for a much better audio version for sure. But so you had mentioned some of me before we even went on that you've got some very, very exciting plans tonight. You are going to see one of, I don't think people can quite comprehend, and especially with the material that he does, exactly how big Dice Clay was, that he was the first guy to sell out Madison Square Garden. And now
3 nights in a row.
And now fucking you and I on a podcast could sell out MSG. It's just, it's completely lost all value. But I remember showing somebody, because I lived in a college town, showing somebody that was like 10 years younger than me. They're like, what's the big deal with this guy? I'm like, I just got to show it to you. And his fucking, I still have the Dice Man Cometh DVD. I don't even have a DVD player to play it anymore, but did you ever hear about how he decided she tried to work clean one time? I think I was listening to Artie's podcast or something, and he was in Vegas and he tried doing a clean act, and everybody was like super, super uncomfortable. And like, he looked like he was on the verge of a panic attack. And then finally he just like looked at some girl. He goes, "Hey, fat tits." And fucking everybody just lost it. And he just went back. It's like, he could never change himself up if he wanted to, but
that's fucking great.
He's still going at it, so I wish I fucking knew that he was still touring. I would love to see the Dice Man.
With that show that at the Madison Square Garden, the first night he opened the show, and then the second night that I was there, he came on for probably 3-4 minutes, but he did probably 15 minutes at the start of that show of the night one. And It wasn't great. It was all right, but he shouldn't have done 15 minutes. But so I'm interested what tonight's gonna be. But dude, when he came out that second night and he started doing the nursery rhymes and shit, dude, I was standing up fucking doing them.
I,
I don't know. I was pretty into it, man, which was
it's
weird.
it's just one of those things of that, like some of them are very, very over the top, and then there's some of them that are so simple, like Little Boy Blue, he needed the
He
money.
needed the
Like
money.
Jack
Oh,
and Jill went up the hill, each with a buck and a quarter. Jill came down with 250. That fucking I love it so
fucking
much.
whore.
So that's what I was kind of starting to talk about. I'm not sure if you heard me, but so you've been doing your show. You're up to like I was like one like on the high 500s or maybe 600s. I can't even keep track. And you put a show out every day, right?
It's a lot right now. I'm at like 595, 596 or something right now. And dude, yeah, like the last 2 years I've been going at it. I took probably a few years off. And because I was working on some other shows. And so it used to be I would go and do I don't know, a bunch, and I would release one every once a week. And so I'd do a bunch and it'd be like, okay, well, your show's going to be on in like 7 months. And it didn't, nothing made any sense. And so now I just make sure I do it and then try to upload it as soon as possible. But yeah, I was going really hard with just I don't know, I probably had maybe less than 300 2 years ago. And yeah, now I'm at like 600 almost.
I'm now starting to get to where I'm getting the guests, and I'm meeting some great people through, and I'm meeting some not so great people.
Well, you got to meet me though. That kind of sucks. So,
oh, dude, trust me.
kinda,
If you were in Albany right now and you needed a place to crash, I mean, like sight unseen, I'd fucking have you over, man. Like you seem like a buddy, and hopefully that could be reciprocated. Because
hell yeah,
I also you've given me between you and my very first formal guest on the show, who was a comedian, Megan Rose, who I knew from my heyday of partying, which was, and she was also well along too. And it's hilarious how well we did this. I'm almost starting to get the itch to get back out there. But then I just remember, I'm like, I was watching an old video of mine doing stand-up, and I'm like, I can't even tell half these jokes anymore, or hardly any of them. I can obviously do some different material now that I'm a sober guy. I could probably, have some fun with that. But it's, I just still say I went to one open mic here, and I think I may have told you this, but like a joke that I used to use as a solid opener got a gasp. And I was just like, all right, this is maybe not the thing. Do you ever watch back to old episodes? Or I know that or do you ever check it out? Or do you notice how much things have changed over time?
yeah. I mean, I went back. I was listening to some of the ones that I had from with one of my friends who the first 2 or 3 years did a good number of them, probably did like 10 or 15 at least. And but now he doesn't like want to have anything to do with it. I think he was like honestly probably my favorite guest I've had, and maybe he'll hear this. He listens still, but he doesn't really want to have anything to do with anything public anymore, which is cool. I get it, man.
I have the same thing. One of my good buddies has a really, really great job right now. He did one on my channel here where we did a review of True Detective season 4, the finale, which was the biggest pile of hot garbage that ever existed. And we just had to it was you couldn't do it justice of how bad it was, and like how somebody clearly just does not know how to write something where you have to have they just already they had the ending before they wrote the beginning of it, apparently, is what I can guess out of it. But I was listening back to, we did some episodes which he's taken all down. I have a couple of them saved on my phone, and I was listening to a couple of them the other day. We had some that we didn't release because we were both hammered drunk when we were doing them, but we could keep a conversation going because that's just kind of how we are.
That's how this was.
And we some of them we wouldn't release because we're like, oh, we shouldn't have told that story and given the names and stuff like that. So we would go out there. I listened back to that and I was like, that's the least of our concerns, where it's like a nice time capsule as to how much more fun the world used to be. Like we used to, I mean, as again, I started this one up where I'm probably going to even have to blur out two of the words I said. I'm just thinking about this because I'm like, all right, don't want to piss off the YouTube gods because I mean, shit, at one point in time in 2020, I got a show that I was producing, which was the dumbest thing ever. Somebody was like, oh, yeah, you want to be a producer? And I'm like, you know, I can't shut the fuck up, right? And I went on a rant about the fucking Wegmans grocery store, how, it's the wild, wild west, but bars are getting shut down because someone stood up without a mask or whatever. And somehow fucking they got the thing taken down for medical misinformation, which thankfully that's kind of gone away. Because I mean, I remember Dr. Drew, I listened to Adam Carolla a lot, talking about how he had something taken out for medical misinformation. And he's like, I'm a fucking doctor. The guy who took that down makes $10 an hour. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
That's a good fucking point, man. So you were talking about Wegmans, man. Dude, Wegmans, they have some good sushi.
Most overpriced, overrated grocery store ever.
They got good sushi. That's the one thing I can give them for fucking $9.
They definitely will. That's the thing. It used to be like fucking $5 when it first came out. And, like I used to live off of Wegmans, and then it became and everybody that, I live in the area, the Albany area, we don't have Wegmans. There's like an agreement between the family that owns a big chain here and the Wegman family. Maybe they have to pay off Danny Wegman with a bunch of coke. I'm not sure if you know that about the Wegman family.
No, man, this sounds a lot like the fucking Stu Leonard story, dude. I
lived out of the Rochester area where Wegmans is from, and it's kind of like a running joke about, Danny Wegman, who is, I believe, this kid that inherited it is a big giant cokehead. That's just hearsay. I don't know that to be true. I've never seen it in my own eyes, but that's a joke that they have in Rochester, yeah, it was, I used to kind of live there. Then I moved back to a different area and I'm like, this one other chain, it's called Hannaford. I'm like, this is fucking great. They actually give me stuff. Like I don't pay too much of arm and leg. I mean, and all everyone's like, oh, Wegmans are great. Wegmans are great. And I'm like, they're like, oh, we wish we could have them here. And I'm like, listen, if you complain about the price of groceries, then you don't want a Wegmans in your life. And I love that people will tell me, they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't fucking live in a town and shop at Wegmans for fucking 12 years. What the fuck do I know? Yeah. It's like people, I love that people that will try to tell you about something that they don't know anything about that you've actually lived and experienced.
Yeah. And like Wegmans, you can get, like, you can't go there to get your groceries. You can't go, like, you can, if you want, unless you want to like spend shit tons of money. But like, dude, yeah, like I bought sushi there and I think maybe like an apple or two, and that's about it. But like, I look at the price of everything else and it's ridiculous, and it's like not that much different than a lot of other places.
No, so I worked in I know people that worked with them, obviously, and the difference between Wegmans produce and Walmart produce is that Wegmans does one extra quality check, which basically means if you get a bag of straw or a thing of strawberries, they probably took one out that didn't look that good, and then they charge it twice as much for it.
Absolutely.
And people love it. They pay it, and hey, if they can do it, it's more power to them, but not this fucker right here.
Yeah. Do you ever go to Stu Leonard's?
Stu Leonard's? No, I've never heard of Stu Leonard's. Where is that about?
So there are, I think they're mostly in Connecticut. They might be some over in New York as well.
I'm not that far from Connecticut, but I really have not had any reason to. I went there one time for a party and was like a really rich person's house. And I remember them saying like, hey, you guys you could make a good living if you lived in Brewster, New York, selling beer, bringing it across the border, because they stopped selling all alcohol at 9:00 at night, except for in bars and fucking on a Friday night. Like, so if you're an actual 9 to, or somebody that's a service worker, restaurant worker, you need to know that you want to get drunk. If you like, you can't just decide, oh, geez, that was a rough day. I need to go grab a deuce from the gas station. Nope. They stopped selling it at 9:00.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, yeah.
So if things don't work out, if my employer ever starts seeing this podcast, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just start running beer across the night, and at that point, might as well just sell it to underage kids too.
Fuck yeah, dude. They're probably going to pay some more. So that seems like a good plan. I like
Although
that.
Young kids don't drink anymore, though. I mean, you and I are around the same age. And again, I'm posting some content from my drinking days, because I was pretty fucking good at it, I must say. And I think that people like me ruined it for everybody else.
Yeah. You were the fucking guy that just, I don't know. I probably ruined it for some people too. But like, Well, okay, so would you be at a bar? Would you be at a club, or would you be like,
Oh, I wasn't a club
go,
guy. I was a dive bar guy if I could help
yeah,
it. If I
me
could do
too,
it
man.
there. I wanted to like like it's it used to be there was a point in time where I like to be in the scene, I guess a little more, but I still never was a club guy because I was like, that's a really expensive to pay for drinks and to talk to girls that I'm not really interested in because they don't really
Yeah,
care because I'm not wearing designer clothes. So
right.
I was mostly the guy who became friends with bartenders. And I mean, realistically, the lifestyle that I lived was so far beyond my income just by networking. That's why I used to say, I think on your podcast, I said, I was never like a successful in comedy, but I'm like, well, by making people laugh, I got a lot of drinks bought for me, or my tabs mysteriously. A lot of college kids paid for my booze over the years. We'll just say,
Hell
you
yeah,
know,
dude.
you start learning some of those games, but no, I was definitely a main staple. Like I remember what's his face, Danny Bonaducci had his show, which Breaking Bonaducci was one of my favorite fucking
Oh,
shows that's
hell
disappeared from the
yeah.
internet. And he had this whole thing. He's like, I'm a member of 5 gyms and all of them think I work out too much. The same could be said for me is that I was a regular at like 5 different bars and all of them thought I drank too much.
Okay, that makes sense. I got that. And yeah,
Like
yeah.
even my last hurrah before I sobered up, I'm in an area where it's like it's more commercial, businesses or like chains kind of, and I was able to kind of go on this nice little bar crawl where I would be hammered, but I would just ask for a shot and a beer and say close it out, so that way they wouldn't feel so uncomfortable. But then I would just go to every fucking place doing that.
Okay, that works. So, what would you do the shot like before you drink the beer, or would
Oh,
you
100%.
sip on the shot?
I was a Jameson shot. I was a Jameson Bud Light guy all day, every day. And basically the Bud Light was the Aquafina between shots of Jameson.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes I see that. I see you
I
being
mean,
that guy.
I look like I mean, so that's actually, if I was to do stand up now, like I think that one of the jokes I would make is how disappointed a bartender is when I walk up to the bar and they can, usually bartenders would light up, see me going, okay, this is going to be a good customer here, And then I'm like, hey, what do you got on the NA menu? And they just have this look of confusion and panic too, because they don't know how long that NA has been sitting there for. And I swear when they open it, it's like they're, like clipping the wrong wire on a grenade or on a bomb or something like that. Like, what's going to happen here? And then it's just like, no, I'm just going to fucking drink it. And actually, like I said, in that one video, it definitely was a Heineken that was like this, or, I've had to double check a couple of times. Like, are you sure this isn't okay? It says it's the 00, but when did you guys get this exactly? Because I think there might be a trace amount of this in here.
Have you ever watched the show Kenny versus Spenny?
No, I haven't.
So it's this Canadian show, and it's very much the 2-man Jewish comedy duo thing. And what they do is they have competitions each show. And one of them was who could drink more beer. But if you puke, you lose. And so there's one guy that plays the game straight, and then the other guy that's always the cheating somehow to win. And so the guy who's always cheating, he gets Bex, I think is what it was, because Bex, the regular and non-alcoholic look almost identical.
Oh, Bex Premium Lights is basically non-alcoholic too.
Okay, yeah. And so, yeah, then they figured that out. So he switched the beers. So he was drinking the non-alcoholics, pretending to be drunk, while the other guy just gets completely hammered and he fucks with them for the whole show. And I won't spoil it. If you ever get a chance, you should check out the show.
I had that happen once before with it was really embarrassing too. Somebody had I thought it was like pucker, like that like little mixer thing. It turned out it was just a mixer. This was like when I was in college and I was in my fraternity days. And I remember downing the entire bottle and like literally feeling fucking like, actually thought that I had, accumulated a buzz and thought I was a big shot. And then like 20 minutes later, someone's like, there's no alcohol in that, right? And all of a sudden it was like, I felt like David Spade in that old Adam Sandler sketch, like, wasted man. And then it's like, what? No. I'm going to have to bust you on that one. So you're not.
but this man must be the fucking shrews. Or no, yeah, what is it then? Yeah, it must be this weed I'm smoking, man.
No, that's actually a bag of pencil shavings. So,
man, must be that beer streak. I had about 4
I, the problem was that, I also got into the drug scene of things, and I wish that I had that with fake cocaine, but unfortunately that was not the case. That was, I would know pretty quickly and be very upset about that one, but what are you going to do?
Right. What are you going to do, man? Dude, man.
Just do a bunch of it.
Yeah. Until, fucking, you're like, oh, it's going to be good. And then you wake up and you don't feel fantastic.
I think that maybe that's ruined the binge drinking scene, though, too, is that, I wouldn't touch any fucking, literally, I would need to have anything tested now, because now you have to worry about, we never had to worry about fucking fentanyl. And honestly,
right.
I'm thinking about, too, like, part of the reason, like, I'm off the weed now for a little while, and I almost want to have somebody on to talk about this. I don't think that the fucking weed that they're letting us buy legally is exactly the greatest thing for us, because back in the day, if you want a good quality product, you had to pay a lot of money, but you knew where that money was going. It was it was like Pulp Fiction. This is the fucking this is going to pass the Pepsi challenge all day, every day. And now it's like, I get this picturesque looking weed that looks amazing in the place of Massachusetts. I can buy some fucking stuff that's got like almost 30% THC, and it's like $25 an eighth. Whereas $25 an eighth used to be a fucking bag of sticks and seeds. And it's kind of like, wait, everything else in the world is going up, but the weed is going down. Explain that one to me exactly, because the demand for it's gone up. The supply, I think, has always pretty much been the same. I never minded weed being illegal, because it was kind of like there's an idiot tax. If you are an idiot smoking it, then you get caught.
Right. That was me 3 times.
Oh, I got one.
I was idiot number 1.
I got one possession thing. There was a couple times where, and I remember there was a little theme on the internet called Criming While White. And and it was, maybe that was the thing that happened, that, like a couple times there'd be cops there, but it's like, look, if it's just a couple guys that are hanging out in a park, as long as there's no kids around or anything, it's like, hey guys, just take it somewhere else, man. Or they might make you break your bowl or something, but it's not worth them writing up the paperwork to fucking, have you pay a small fine or something.
Right. Yeah, dude.
I got one possession ticket when I was a freshman in college, but that could have been much, much worse. And that's a story for another day.
Me too. I same thing, same time, same thing. Another time, man. Okay. So what was your way of going to get it? Like, did you have like the same dude for a long time, or did you?
I had a rotating cast of characters. It's kind of, you had the people that you trusted a little bit more, and you had people whose schedules worked a little bit. At one point in time, I just was the guy, but let me tell you, there's nothing more hilarious. The cat's out of the bag on this one. It's been it's over fucking 15 years ago now, probably. Yeah. I used to fucking work at a full service gas station. Okay. And I used that place. Sometimes I sold more stuff out of there than the gas station sold that day, because I had this, what I call the genius plan there. Hey man, pull up to the pump. If you need gas, that's great. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hook the gas pump up to your car, and then I'm going to walk over to you, grab your money, and then I'm going to slide it in the gas door and close the gas door.
That's what I was going to say. Put it in the gas door right there. That's
and perfect. Then whenever you get where you got to go, that's fine. And it's funny too, because there was definitely some heat on the place for a little while. I actually ended up talking to one of the cops after he retired at a barbecue one time, and he was like, that we were really looking at you pretty hard, or we were looking at that place. We didn't realize that it was you, because I was the most unassuming. I was the college kid, and then there was some kind of, not so innocent looking people, I guess I would say, working there. But sure. That was kind of the allure of me. So that's kind of one of my favorite movies of all time is American Psycho, because as I tell people, people will see what they want to see out of somebody. I'm a pretty, for the most part, happy-go-lucky guy, but things have gotten. I've never killed anybody. I don't.
Right. Yeah, on air.
Yeah, no, no, it's one of those things that's, I'm not proud of it anymore. I kind of am, actually. What am I kidding?
It's who you are, man, and what you did.
I don't think I've lived as much of an ordinary life, and that's why I'm out here to kind of tell people that, don't run from your past. It's who made you who you are. Unless you did some really, really heinous shit.
Right. And then
but even still, if you did it, it's a way of atoning for your mistakes, I guess. I was raised a Catholic, even though I don't really fucking believe in any of that shit anymore. But we fucking are it's amazing that you're the first person that responded to me to have me on your show. And it's like, all right, I could legitimately, I need to fucking find out if you're coming to this area, and I need to fucking get back on stage. So if you're doing a stand-up gig, I can be part of that show.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be cool, man. Yeah, I could do something like that. I don't know, man. Like I do want to go back up to New York. And you were talking about side note on that. So, did you ever get into the Robert Durst case, the Jinx? There was a guy that this is in the city, but like he was his family owns a bunch of the real estate in Manhattan, and he back in the early 80s had like some he had a wife and his wife went missing, and then they tried him for this murder, and then he ended up getting off on it, and then they made him he had like a friend who was her dad, I think, was in the mafia in Los Angeles or maybe in New York, and she ended up getting killed, and he was kind of the suspect for it. And so they end up doing a documentary, a 6-part documentary about him. And then it basically is that this whole story is about them eventually busting the guy. On the documentary at the end, he has a hot mic and basically kind of confesses to it.
Oh no, I did. I feel
Yeah.
like I should have known about that. I mean, it's sad that there's so much shit out there that
Right.
can just fall through the cracks, like I guess, or that you
Yeah.
would think that would be like a major breaking story, but it's quite a world we live in now.
Right. Yeah, dude. And then like the fucking I don't know, like the wood chipper thing from Fargo happened like pretty close to where I lived in Connecticut when I was a kid. It was like right on the other side of the lake. When I was a little kid, that shit happened.
Back when they made good, well, I mean, it's like, when they made good movies. I mean, granted, they were taking stuff from me. That's an awesome movie. I think that there's William H. Macy's character in that is just fucking. And honestly, I felt like the portrayal of people from that part of the country pretty much matched when I was exactly thinking when I was in Minneapolis. Like I'm like, oh, they nailed this one.
Yeah.
Like you would know that I was fucking kind of being a dickhead, but I could do the, talk like I'm from Minnesota, like, yeah. Like it's fucking, that's really exactly what it is.
It was weird, man. It was a weird fucking accent. And then like, I don't know, man. Yeah, Minnesota was a weird place.
I was talking with my buddy that's Big Tone here, who is, if you're on Twitter, the guy is an absolute riot. Big Tone here. It's a shtick. He's a big Italian guy, huge gambler, works in sales, and it's like I've known him without knowing him, and we did a podcast where it was the first time we ever talked the other day. We ran into each other one time at a casino where it was like I was pretty sure it was him, and he was pretty sure it was me, but it's like, do I make the first move? And then he just walked up to me, and I'm like, it's like, you're everything I thought you were going to be. Don't ever meet your heroes. Like,
yeah, you're that dude. You're fucking.
We were talking about how he had a good time in Minneapolis in 2018 because he was there for the Ryder Cup. And I was like, yeah, it's a little different. Some things happen there. And he was like, yeah, we're not going to that. I'm like, and that was my thing. I think I meant to mention with you. It's like, that place just looks like it used to be okay, but it had a really bad weekend. It never got over.
Yeah. And so I was talking about that the other day. I was like, because I was thinking that, so my dates were off. I don't know where the fuck I was, where it would have been, because you said it was the 25th that it happened.
May 25th, yeah.
Your birthday. And I was like, yeah, we wouldn't have been moving then. And so I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, or like, I think that was, I mean, I was probably fucked up. I was fucked up on a lot of I don't know. They had me on a lot of fucking drugs back then. After this was like pain stuff. And so I was fucked up. So I was wrong about the dates during that shit. But
you start blurring certain things in. Like, it's always fun when I get together with some old friends and we start telling stories, and we've like morphed like 5 individual occurrences into one day sometimes. And I'm the asshole that actually really remembers the timeline of things. I'm like, no, this happened. It's like, they're just like, kind of like, are you sure? I'm like, why I just making it? Like, I can literally start narrowing down horrible details. And as I've been clearing my mind, so to speak, it's I've had to remember a lot of things I maybe don't care to remember. That's always a lot of fun.
Are you having more dreams right now?
I don't even really know. I mean, I haven't been sleeping that great, but I think that I go pretty deep. I will say that as somebody who quit drinking, there is one dream that I do have every now and again, and it's that I accidentally got drunk or I accidentally drank something. And then
Oh,
I like, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's run with this. And then
which
I
you
have
would?
like, I'm not like, I told you, like, I'm not an AA guy or anything. I just do it, the old fashioned way, just not do it. But I do have the
Like
app
you
there that every
bitch.
now and again does tell me how many days it's been since my last drink. And like, the whole party's all good until I realize, oh shit, I have to reset this back to zero. And then like that like wakes me up in a cold chill, and it's like, okay, that's why
That's good
that's my
thing to know.
big motivator, I guess. That I know that it can happen, but I don't want it to.
Yeah. Are you a redhead? I can't tell if
Yeah, I'm a
it's red or
ginger. I was
oh,
I
so
was I used to be fire orange, but when I was in 8th grade, that Eminem guy was really popular, and I bleached my
ooh,
hair,
yeah.
and it just kind of like never came back so well.
Okay. Because of like with redheads, you have takes more shit to get you fucked up. Like even when you go to the dentist, like you have to ask for. Well, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like a day walker. I think is what the technical term
Yeah,
is.
yeah, the South Park term for it.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, dude, like I go to the dentist and it's like, yeah, I need more. I need more. Like, give me more. That's not enough. Like, I feel every bit of this. And then same with drinking. It's like, you gotta drink more. It's like you can, it's
with
a little bit.
with me, the thing with drinking was is that I actually would catch my buzz. Well, I drank so fast that I never knew exactly how little it took to actually feel a certain way. So it's like there is a little delay process of when you start feeling something that you drink. And in my case, I'd be like, oh, it must take me 6 beers to get fucked up. And then it's like, well, no, you drank 6 in the time that a normal person drinks 2. So, or, with the beers and the shots thing. So I would have that kind of going for me. But I'm actually going to have some former bartenders of mine. I mean, not that they're my bartenders, but bartenders that served me during that period of life. And they would always have the thing of that they couldn't tell by talking to me. Like I'd be sitting at a bar for like 3 hours, just ripping drinks, making, shooting the shit with everybody. And they'd be like, they wouldn't realize I was drunk until I got up to take a piss and I would stumble. Like, like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
right. I have given that guy like 10 drinks in the past 3 hours, or whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
And those bars, fucking thanks for those bars
Dude,
and those bartenders.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. I lived across the street from the bar that I hung out at all the time. So like honestly, where I had to park and the walk to the front door of the bar versus the front door of the apartment I lived in were like equidistance.
Yeah. And
They never had to worry about me getting home.
right, which was nice.
And we had a really good, there was this one guy, God rest his soul, RIP, that was a sober guy that hung out at the bar. And he was the babysitter, wallet, keys, phone before we left everything, all that stuff, just kind of, hey, did you guys need a ride? All that stuff. And it was, the addicted community, depending on what it is, they're always very, very they care for each other. They always want to make sure, like, dude, I remember one time I was going through it really bad with booze and I was out behind the place I worked at throwing up. I was at a gas station and I was out behind the building throwing up or dry heaving. And this fucking guy walked up to me and he was like, hey man, you need some boy? And I'm like, well, what the fuck is boy? And he was like, you need me to fix you up. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, heroin. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, first off, I'm like, that was a gut check moment. I'm like, I create the illusion of being a heroin addict. But second off, I'm like, I guess it's nice that he would take care of somebody that was in that condition. I'm sure that there were, he'd want something reciprocated that I wasn't willing to do, but
yeah. I mean, like that's still pretty nice. That's a nice guy, man. That's a good gesture because maybe I guess that must be a sign of them being sick, some sort of dry heaving, and it's like like some parent hearing a baby somewhere in the fucking distance and like, oh man, I gotta fucking go over there. And yeah, maybe it's just being a nice guy, man. Like, oh, I fucking know that sucks, dude. Like probably just needs a little pick me up.
Well, that was the summer when I recorded these things, which really just can't see the light of day for a bunch of reasons, and also because people that are involved have got some better things going for them, but they weren't going. They were in the same boat I was at that time. But I just remember that was the summer I pumped gas for 10 years of my life, and I graduated college at the wrong time. So I worked at that gas station in college, and then I graduated in 2008, which was a terrible time to enter the workforce. Exactly.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So being asked if I wanted to be an assistant manager at this place was actually making more money than most people that I fucking graduated with at the time, which obviously was, never going to get much better than that. But I just remember I eventually got an insurance license and started selling insurance. And it wasn't that I was bad at it. It was just I fucking hated every day of my life selling insurance. And I got really comfortable having life insurance conversations with people, which is like not exactly the funnest of conversations where you're like, you're just describing the worst pot. Like, I hate the idea of selling on fear. And like, all you are doing is instilling fear. Like, you're like, okay, based on what you told me, that if this something was to happen, you and the wife and the kids will be out in the street, the wife and kids will be out in the streets in about like 6 months or so. But for $25 a month, we can make that all go away, and it's like, you just lose as a ginger, I don't have a soul. I felt like I really lost my soul at that point in time.
Yeah.
But I was bouncing around the town, and I was what I would call underemployed. Like I always find ways to make money. That's the whole thing. I'm not above any kind of, I was doing part-time work on a mason crew. I was, anywhere I could make a buck here and there. I actually was betting on baseball pretty well. And up until Manny Pacquiao lost a fight to the Australian guy, I was doing okay with that one. But the thing that the cheat code is that there was a bodega down the road from my house that sold 4 Loco Gold for $3.
Oh shit. Okay. So perfect.
So basically, as I did a joke in my comedy act at one point in time about how, I wish that 16-year-old Ryan, I think, how old was I? I think I was 32 at the time or something. I was like, I wish that 16-year-old Ryan could see what 32-year-old Ryan became. He's like, I doubt that he fucking saw himself in a shower downing a 4th Loco and trying to time the last sip to when he completed his climax in the shower. Like that was
right.
I wish that was a joke.
Yeah, I mean, but dude, that's fucking pretty awesome. Like if you could tell your 16-year-old self that and be like, yo, dude, like I turned out pretty cool, man. Check it. Like that's a cool person. If you tell that to a 16-year-old, don't go around telling 16-year-olds that. I wouldn't suggest that right now, finding random 16-year-olds and being like, hey, like, what I do. But telling yourself that's cool, man.
It was even just these things. I look back at how ridiculous it was, but I mean, I used to fucking get, I was a functional at this point where there was a summer that I learned this from another pro. I'll just call him, is that I always had a cooler in my car.
Okay.
I would fucking stock up, and it was White Claws. White Claws, anyone can say what they want about them, but they didn't have as much lingering smell on your breath as beer would necessarily. So I would always have those there, and I might, I would be getting dressed and putting on a tie and like looking at myself in the mirror and crushing a fucking drink and being like, oh, I'm cool. Like, and then it's like, no, you're a fucking loser. Like,
that's like the vape version of drinking, man. Shout out to your vape. But
I looked at it this way, is that like, you could always tell like the one drink, because the big thing too is I always was worried about being like, a part of the reason to hide the illusion of who I was is I always made sure I stayed somewhat in shape. I always ate kind of well. So that was kind of, again, to throw the scent off of people and whatnot. But vodka sodas, once you get into the vodka soda game, like if you let me smell someone's vodka soda, I'll let you know how fucking bad they are, because really they all taste the same. The vodka and the soda don't really like change each other's taste. It's just how much it burns, really.
Yeah, dude, that was my fucking thing at the end, dude. For sure, it was vodka sodas, and man, and I'd go. So if my thing is, if I'm drinking a beer, I will go to any bar. But if I'm getting mixed drinks like a vodka soda, I will go to one bar over and over, because I know that that's where it's going to be hooked up the best every time I go there. And like when you go to a new place, a new bar, they don't hook up the drink. That's how my fucking head works.
No, you gotta get, I remember like every now and again, like I was also the guy that if they made a mistake, they would just hand it my way. And I remember somebody having I used to do it the opposite. I would get like, some people be like, oh, make it a double, or give me a single in a double glass or something like that. I'd be like, no, can you give me a double in a single glass, please? Like, and one time I remember this one little kid guy I used to hang out with. He looked like a little kid, even though he was in his 20s. And I was unfortunately the guy that was showing him how the world really worked a little bit.
That's a good person.
And he would, I remember him sitting there one time, and someone had a rum and coke that was a mistake. And I took a sip of it and I was like, this just tastes like Coke to me. And I'm like, I handed it to him. I'm like, do you even taste the alcohol in this? And he fucking took a sip and like coughed. He's like, oh, Jesus, of course I do. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, I remember I couldn't drink Captain Morgan because I thought it just tasted like vanilla Coke.
Yeah. No, dude, those Captain Morgan days, that was like 20 years old, dude. Oh God. Like some of these things, like it's been over 20 years, like with some of these drinks, and I can still taste them. I can still feel that like my chest tightens up.
SoCo 100 proof. That's the one that I fucking had.
Dude, 21 years old, fucking holy shit, up in Washington, dude. That stuff. One time and that's all it takes with that shit. You will anytime I can smell Southern Comfort right now. I can smell it. I don't know how to describe it, but I can smell it right now.
It's one of those of that it kills me. Like I'm actually probably going to be going out tomorrow. Like I don't really go out a lot anymore because being around overly drunk people does become a thing. And if I can smell it, like I remember actually when me and my buddies, we did a trip where we went to a baseball game in Pittsburgh and then went to Cleveland in the same day. And it was like the most perfectly timed trip. Like literally got out of the Pittsburgh game, got in the car. The car was right by the exits, got on there, made some rest stops, got to Cleveland and like literally parked the car, walked in, bought food. And then we were sitting down there playing the national anthem. But in the car, shit. My one buddy had a flask of fucking bourbon and he was like, hey, do you mind if I rip this in here? I'm like, hey, yeah, you're a fucking girl. You can do whatever you want, man. And I remember him taking a fucking hit off that flask and I had to like grab my chest because I was like, oh God, the smell of it. I can feel it. It's it's like the feeling that the addict has a little bit like, like whatever the heroin addict feels when they plunge that needle in there. Somebody asked me if I was to take a shot of liquor, what would happen? I'm like, I probably would get a nice burning sensation in my chest. And then 5 minutes later, I would be fucking fighting you for the bottle. Like I know myself well enough to not do that anymore.
Yep, me too, man. And dude, yeah, like I don't know.
This is better than AA, by the way. We talked about this before, and again, I don't want my show to become the anti-AA show, but I feel like that this is the forum for. And a couple people I've talked to as guests, when I tell them that, hey, like this is what's going on with me, they're like, oh yeah, no, too, I'm doing that too. It's like there are more of us, and I would even notice that. Like I'm a sales guy. You know how many times I'd go to lunch and see the secret society of that, like. We'd just be sitting there. Okay, bunch of guys in suits, 3 martini lunch. What do you sell? Hey, let's trade business cards so it looks like we were doing our jobs today. Like,
yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how much drinking there is everywhere, and like, I don't know, man. It's
well, it was so socially encouraged. I don't want to say acceptable, but encouraged.
Yeah, that's when you're an adult, man, and.
Well, like even when I was in high school, like I remember teachers going like, oh, you're going to go to college and you're going to fucking, and I'm like, okay, that's what they said I should do. Like, I remember at my old job I had, like, I remember like I started in November and they did like, we didn't do a holiday, a Christmas party. We did like a kickoff party because retail, we're pretty busy up until January with my business I was in. And their whole thing was that they had this one casino in upstate New York, Turning Stone, where there was, casino and they would have like a 2-hour open bar and stuff. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to go my first year because I'm a subdued version of myself when I started a new place. I wait to assert myself and kind of pick up what I can get away with. So I didn't go to that one. But then the next year, everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to see this. And I'm going like, all right, I guess I got to give them what they want. And then I tried to fight the fucking top guy in the company and I fucking was just a complete train wreck mess. And everyone was like, yo, dude, man, you took it too far. I'm like, you guys are the one that fucking told me to do it. Like you guys were egging me on. I gave you what you wanted and then you didn't want it anymore. Like,
yeah. And those are fun. Those are a lot of fun. Those people.
Those are I guess I almost don't understand someone that's going to get drunk that doesn't. Cause like, that's where I never really, the hangover thing. Well, that's what the problem was that when I got older, the hangover started kicking in. But the way to assert that was that you just had to kind of maintain yourself through the day kind of thing, like let's just like this is to give you an idea. I could pass out with a fucking half a beer in front of me. If I woke up, I would have no problem just waking up and just knocking it back, which is, I guess, people say problematic behavior.
Well, whatever, man. It's cool, man. Dude, I don't know, but I didn't ever really like drinking until like the sun went down was kind of my thing, but I'd stay
My
up
rule is
late.
no liquor, or brown liquor, especially in daylight, was the no.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, cause then I get tired. I get tired when I drink.
Well, that's what the other stuff is for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that'll keep you going, and then you're fucking boom, 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 boom all over fucking town, dude. And
It's amazing how I don't have money to buy any new clothes, but I fucking can basically buy a fucking luxury suit every fucking weekend, kind of thing. How
right.
you rationalize that? So that's been fun. Like, as I was talking with on the one podcast I did with Megan, stand up in sobriety. I'm like, when I quit drinking, I legitimately gave myself like a $20,000 a year raise, and I'm not even kidding about that.
Yeah, it was weird when I fucking stopped, and like I was working part-time for the fucking government, and dude, I was like fucking like paying for all this shit because I was in diversion. Uh I was in diversion with everyone that got DUIs because I got caught with weed, and they just made a law in Oregon that if you get caught with weed, even if you're not driving, you lose your license for 6 months. And I just got this job, and I was driving for it. And so I'm like, I guess I'll do fucking diversion so I don't lose my license and lose this job. But dude, I fucking was paying for all that shit, and I still had money fucking on the side. I'm like, I don't know how this fucking happens. Like,
Well,
yeah,
you're a wrestler now, from what I'm understanding. So I mean, that's kind of a big culture for, because what ends up happening there is that you probably have this adrenaline rush from doing what you were doing, and then afterwards you gotta calm it down a little bit. You gotta take the edge off of it. Like, there's no what other way are you gonna do it? I mean, I guess pot be the better way, I guess, but that's
usually
what I used
both.
to have with sales. I used to, work in a retail sales job and making money, and I was making decent money at the time. If I was crushing sales or like that, I was riding such a high. I had to, to calm it down a little bit. That's
Yeah.
when I started realizing my first time with caffeine consumption. When Bang energy drinks first came out, I remembered that there was a gas station right next to where I worked, and they had all the clever marketing, all the hot girls and whatnot. So I started going, hey, instead of buying 2 Red Bulls, I'll buy 2 Bangs because it's, they're bigger. And I would chug one of them, literally chug one of them, and then I would just nurse one throughout the day. And then I would be, at the end of the day, I'd be fucking sitting at my desk, like, like this. And I'm like, then I would go out afterwards and I'd have a couple drinks. And I remember this cycle perpetuated, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I remember thinking, like, I gotta really, like, I might have to ask work if, like, I can go to, well, eventually I did have to go to a detox, but that was when I wasn't for it. But I was sitting there, and then the thing that made me feel better is I'm staring at the side. I never paid attention to caffeine content. And I saw on the side of a can of Bang, it said 300 milligrams of caffeine in there. And I'm like, huh, that seems like a high number. And then I looked at what a standard Red Bull had, like the regular original, the OG, that was 80 milligrams. And I'm like, huh, I'm drinking an 8-pack of Red Bull, and I'm wondering why I feel like shit. Like,
absolutely, dude. And like mixing that with fucking booze, dude, like those.
I never understood that. Never understood that one.
Dude, yeah, those Red Bull vodkas, like I would drink those. I take one of those, and dude, I would be fucking out. Like that was like a fucking roofie for me or some shit, dude. Like just one fucking drink, dude. And I drink a good amount, but just one of those, the mixture of the two just fucked me up, dude. And I'd fucking pass out. I'd say some fucked up shit and pass out.
That was a nice little morning after, our day after, if I was going to get back after it. Because again, the town I lived in was a pretty heavy drinking town, I'll just say, and it's probably still is. But I remember I would do a little bit of Red Bull, cranberry juice, and vodka. That was like my that was like a nice, like, okay, I'm going to get some vitamins out of this, maybe, get a little bit of a pep in my step, and just like a little bit of booze in there just to kind of calm. Because I mean, most of a hangover is alcohol withdrawal.
Right. Or I had a guy that would drink a fucking handle of vodka, but he made sure he drank a fucking glass, like the fucking beer glasses you get at the bar.
Oh yeah.
He'd have straw, he'd double fist, dude, one fucking of vodka and the other of water. And he fucking would say as long as he drank the fucking them both at the same amount that he'd be fine. He somehow was, dude.
Well, like, was he Russian by any chance? Because I went to high school with a guy who was Russian, and he had dinner at his place one time, and I remember thinking, like, there's a carafe in the middle of the table. but it's only for dad. And
Oh shit.
he was drinking it like water, and it's like, nope, that is vodka. But again, functional as hell. It just didn't fucking, didn't seem to bother him whatsoever. It just kind of seemed like, hey, this is just what I have with my dinner. Let's say, can you pass potatoes, please? Like,
Yeah, pass the potatoes. I'll dunk them in vodka and be all right, man. Like, I don't know, man. People
so
fucking.
enough about the drinking. I actually do want to head on one thing. So you're a hypnotist?
Yeah, I'm a hypnotist, man.
Did you get into that? Someone tells me you got into that when you sobered up. That's why I asked that.
It was after I sobered up. Not too long. It was after I fucking busted my knee. I got into being a hypnotist. So I was on the road all the time or working my job the rest of the time, delivering hardwood flooring to people's houses, and stepped in a hole, destroyed my knee. And then I got really depressed because I went from like, I don't know, on the road all the time and wrestling all over to fucking sitting on the couch. And I was having a hard time hanging out with people, certain people that later I found out was just because I didn't like them. But I was I felt like they were just drain my energy and all that shit. And so
I know those people.
Yeah, and my therapist gave me a book because I was like, I need to find like a new job because like everything I've done has been physical. And so in that book, there was a thing like for 2 jobs that it mentioned for people like that was a Reiki and a hypnotist. And I thought, like I'll look up hypnosis teachers in Portland and called the first one, talked to the guy for like 20 minutes. And he got me to come in to talk to him in person. I talked to him for like an hour and a half and ended up signing up for the class. And yeah, I thought it was all fake. I thought all that shit was fake, man. I thought it was so fucking fake. Because like I'm from the world of wrestling. I don't believe 95% of what I hear and probably 90% of what I see.
You've been red pilled, as we call it.
I've been red pilled, dude.
I have been too, by the way.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this is all bullshit. And then fucking got hypnotized. He's very big into NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, which is basically conversational hypnosis. And so I have a feeling he probably got me to sign up for that course because of that. But yeah, dude had been doing. So I had him on my podcast like 2 years ago, and now he's 81, and he started when he was 20. And before that, like maybe at that same time, he was like he was the guy that brought karate to the Northwest. He was like, he trained with Bruce Lee.
John Kreese?
Yeah, John Kreese, man, and fucking
I forget his first name was John, but I know Kreese.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, like I don't know, man. He was a fucking trip, dude. He was so I don't know, like he had us sign these things that were like, I'm gonna say some fucking weird shit, and like, basically you can't sue me or whatever the fuck, but he would say shit to kind of like pattern interrupt us and kind of get us thinking differently and things. But most of the class was just all learning, like doing hands-on, just hypnotizing each other. And there was this video or this part of The Simpsons where when Homer gets his medical weed card.
Remember that one?
Okay. And he's driving and like there's all the fucking rainbows and shit going on. And he's just like fucking with a big smile, fucking goofy grin driving through. And dude, I felt like that the first time I got hypnotized, and I was fucking hooked after that, man. It was the coolest shit.
I got to ask you this one, since you sound like you're knowledgeable in this one. I used to do something as a sales tactic, and I still kind of do a little bit, that I almost wonder the way that I understand it myself anyways. You always got to try and make some common ground with whoever you're working with and you're trying to sell something. I mean, ultimately, everyone knows what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make money off of you. But I make a joke about it for the most part. But one thing I found out is that every human being has one thing in common. Well, at least one thing in common, and that's that we all have to eat. So I would, sometimes even just based on an area code or an address or something like that I might get, I would always mention, oh, that's near such and such place. Cause I would get around. I mean, when I was in Rochester, especially, I was in every fucking place that served booze and food, basically. So I'd be like, oh yeah. And I would start describing the setting around there. Oh yeah, you walk in and they got the sign over on the left wall and all this. And then I would describe, and then you can smell the fucking bread cooking and all this stuff like that. And what I was doing is I would engage all of their senses and kind of build this, appetite almost. And then I'd be like, hey, would you like to add this to your order? And it's like, I feel like I created a desire and a demand that they could satisfy based on something completely different than what I was talking about. Does that make sense?
You 100% used NLP.
Without even being taught it. I just kind of taught myself that.
Yeah. 100%, dude. Fucking, I mean, it's conversational hypnosis. You're absolutely doing that. I was talking with one of the guys from my class yesterday. We were talking about the same thing. And, I mean, it's fucking cool. Like, but that's like, for the most part, it's for very, the good of people. And I mean, yeah, dude, it's fucking, you're setting it up just like a fucking any hypnosis session.
And I even had it where people asked me, because, for a 5'7" redhead, I've done okay with the ladies over the years. And again, I remember I picked up Miss Rochester back in the day when I was wearing a gas station uniform, and everyone like asked me like, oh, how did you pull that one off? And I was like, this was always my thing, is that I don't necessarily would go to approach somebody because that can be weird and creepy or whatever. But I would use if you're at the bar waiting for a drink by yourself, and I've seen you do it more than once, that's usually an indicator of some form. I never did the ring check, which I've learned I probably should start doing at this age, because now that's more and more common. But I would then kind of, hey, there's the open. It's more scary how many people that I've discovered that have matched with me on online dating profiles who, when I find out that they maybe disappeared, that's probably why when you start doing a deep, you were married. That's why you disappeared. You probably got caught. So thanks for making me have to look around my back, because I didn't know any better. But I just would know that, okay, like if there was like a one area that's kind of like the drink ordering area, you position yourself next to them and you don't really make a much of it. That's when you have your surroundings to use there. As I always say, have something to say to the person. Don't just fucking say hello. That's boring. So what I would do is, and it never fails, it's the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon thing. If there's a TV screen playing and music playing, I would just always say, it's pretty funny if you imagine that this on the TV is going on with this music in the background. No matter what, within 30 seconds, there's going to be one coincidence, never quite on the Pink Floyd Dark Side thing. But then that would kind of, again, I engaged multiple senses of yours. And then, hey, so what are you drinking? Kind of thing. And that was the way I would go about things. And I'm like, I don't know if that makes me a fucking horrible person or if that's just good game.
It's whatever you think it is, man. Like however it is, like, dude, but that's exactly what it is. And like, the more you do it, dude, like it's not that all uncommon, and how much of it we're consuming all the time. Like, for instance, there's a phenomenon called highway hypnosis.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about with that, where I mean, I have it all the time. I don't remember anything about my drive to work. I've driven up and down the East Coast all fucking summer. I mean, I remember the Delaware Memorial Bridge, I know where the deli in Jersey I like to stop at is. Like, that's about it.
Man, dude, I went to a great deli in Jersey.
They're all great in Jersey.
Okay, well that's it. That makes sense. I went to, it was in Leonardo by the Quick Stop, for the Clerk's Quick Stop.
Okay.
And dude, got a whatever they call it up there. They don't call it the pork roll, egg and cheese. They
Taylor
call
ham.
it Taylor ham.
Taylor ham. I've yet to have one of those, by the way, actually, because I'm just like, hey, just a classic bacon, egg, and cheese will do just fine for me.
The New Yorker in you, man, fucking gotta stick with the bacon, egg, and cheese, man. That's commendable, dude.
Which is also funny. I found through reading Artie Lang, and this is a weird thing of that. Apparently, Italians think that Irish people are genetically predisposed into liking ketchup. And it's funny because I actually don't like ketchup at all.
Fuck yeah, I'm giving you a high five right there for fucking not liking ketchup. Fuck ketchup. Fuck and ketchup forever.
If you put ketchup on a hot dog, I literally will tell somebody if I get there's like I knew somebody that owned a hot dog stand, and like I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go grab hot dogs or like that. So I'm like, how do you want them? And it's like, and if somebody said, I can understand if you put a little bit of ketchup there, mixing it with other things, but
sure.
If you just said, yeah, just give me ketchup on there, I'm like, I'm not getting that for you. Yep. I have a street credit key. I look like a pedophile because only a kid would eat that.
Yeah, go get it yourself, Junior. That's right. That's for you. I'm not doing that, man.
Yeah, I'm dead serious about that one too. You have to get that one yourself. But I definitely have noticed when I'm in Jersey, I get the bacon, egg, and cheese, and they just automatically assume ketchup, right? And I'm like, no, and they look at me really confused. It's like the same thing when I order the NA beer at a bar. They're like, hey, what's going on here? Like they already had the bottle of Jameson ready to go. Like,
who the fuck is this guy, man? He's throwing everything off.
And I would say Chicago dog. Like I want to know what a Vienna beef dog actually tastes like on its own. So I think it's probably a really good hot dog. And like I said, I love hot dogs still. I mean, I eat pretty well, but I will still crush an 8-pack of Nathan's every now and again. Dude, but when I went there,
Nathan's all right.
That's the universal dog. I mean, hot dogs are a regional food for the most part, as far as whatever ones you grew up eating, you're gonna think are the best. Like when I was out in Rochester, they have Zweigels. And I mean, like everybody loves a Zweigel. And if I'm at someone's barbecue and they have Zweigels, I'll eat one. But I have never once been like, oh, I need a fucking Zweigels right now. I'll take it if you're giving it to me. That's, I'm not going to be that much of a dick. But it's like, no, they're on the pecking order of hot dogs I've eaten. You're like not even like fucking close to what I'm liking. But I was in Chicago. I just got in there. I got off the train. I went to a dispensary, which was nice too because they had they had a chillum I could get. So I basically looked like I was hitting a crack pipe on the street, but I just took the fattest hit possible. And now I'm ready to take the town by storm. Stopped into a place that, and I'm looking at the menu and the guy's like, you all right, man? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just like, can you just get like a regular hot dogs? They didn't have just regular hot dog in there. And he's like, yeah, you can. And I'm wearing St. Louis Cardinal stuff. So he might've not known the New York thing, but he's like, why don't you just try the Chicago dog? And I forgot what the guy's name was. I wrote a Google review for him. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, man. Let's do it. And most of the things that are on a Chicago dog, I don't even like. I have never, ever touched a pickle aside from pulling it off my fucking sandwich when somebody puts it right next to the fucking bread, which drives me up.
Fuck yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you right there.
There's a place by me that I love. They put the fucking geniuses. They put the pickle underneath the wax paper so it never touches your sandwich. Beautiful. I will pay $5 extra for that experience.
Yep. That's fucking genius.
But I was like, all of this, I don't like onions. Relish is disgusting as far as I'm concerned. But all of the ingredients of a Chicago dog married together, it makes sense. It was actually really, really fucking good.
Okay. All right. So I'll have to fucking bite.
Well, you don't ever want to go back to Chicago. I don't
want to go back to Chicago. Fuck Chicago, dude. Fuck Chicago.
Yeah, I definitely had where, I had the incident where it almost happened where I was coming back I went there to see a White Sox game and it was late night. First off, I did the whole thing of let's see how far I can walk to the stadium before I think it's not a good idea. And I remember seeing a, kind of what you would think of a rough looking black guy. And he stopped at a certain bus stop. And I was like looking down the road and I'm like, oh, there's people that they're just hanging out outside of a complex. I'm like, if that guy's scared to go down there, I'm probably shouldn't go down there either. And then kind of going to the stadium because I have the look of a mark a little bit, I think, to an extent. Like I had people that tried to run scams me in Chicago. And, it's amazing how quickly this one girl tried telling me, she asked me something if I knew about the Special Olympics and I could already see the Sam coming. I'm like, oh, the Special Olympic. Yeah, that's where I go to jerk off. And just she went to go back into her script and then she had the freezing thing. And I'm like, yeah, nice try. And went moving along. And
pattern interrupt, man. Pattern interrupt. That's what I'm talking about with the fucking guy who taught me, dude. You gotta say fucked up shit like that, and it fucks them up so hard. And then you can fucking do whatever you want right there. You fucking nailed that shit. That's what you gotta do. Go ahead.
Go on. No, I appreciate the compliment. It's amazing these things I've taught myself, by the way. Just live and learn, I guess.
I had a dude that fucking asked me to do a podcast, the 1 minute podcast. And he's like, well, I'll just ask you about stuff that I see that you do, because I do shit. And so I get on the show and starts it up, and he's like, oh, welcome to the 1 minute podcast. And he's like, so we have Rusty here. Rusty, so if you were fucking your mom, you were inside your mom and your dad was fucking you in the ass, would you go forward into your mom to get out first, or would you back up into your dad to get out first? And I don't know what I said, but I said something so fucked up and kept that just as fucked up.
You got to match fucking you picked a fight with the don't bring a sword to a gunfight type thing.
Right. Yeah, dude, that's what you got to do. And then he fucking just hung up on me and didn't ever put the episode out, because that's what you got to do when someone... dude, people don't fuck with crazy. And there's something about it. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I had to tell that story.
No. That's a very valid interruption. And don't care. I interrupt people all the time, and I need to get better at that. So, do whatever you got to do, it's, as long as we're all good fun here, there's no ill will. I had the thing of that. I was I went to the ballpark. It was the game ran a little late, which I didn't mind. There was a rain delay. And that was fine because there was the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup was going on. So I'm like, oh, I'll just watch this on my phone. I had money on the Panthers to win it. They did win it. So that was good because that made me feel better about the money I was spending in Chicago. And then I got I did the whole thing of where I kind of pretend that, I travel by myself. It's a fun, liberating experience to me as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So I just kind of do the thing where I'm walking, I probably look like I'm a stalker, but I'm actually, because I'm a more harmless looking individual, I guess I would say. I just kind of walked behind this one couple where I made it seem like I maybe was the third wheel. And that probably kept a little, bit off me. I get back from we take a train back to where my hotel was, which, by the way, I stayed at a hotel that is allegedly the most haunted hotel in Chicago.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. I forget the name of it right now. It was down in the fucking, either way, it's it was something down in the square or something like that. Irrelevant. I get off the train station and I see everyone starts going one way, and I look the other way and I see a big neon sign that says milkshake. And I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I was really stoned. It was hot as shit. I'm like, milkshake sounds good. That's going to be my my nightcap thing. I'm going to have a nice, good milkshake. Sure. I walk up to the place and it closes at 11 and it's 10:56. And I'm like, I'm not going to make them fucking make me a milkshake. No, yeah, 100% not. So I'm now walking back by I stopped. There was a pizza place that I was like, they were still open. I grabbed that, and a slice of cheesecake was my fucking, little consolation. So I'm walking back, and you know how in Chicago they have the little scaffolds, over the, in the city,
yeah.
I'm walking there, and there's just a gentleman that does not look like the kind of guy you want to walk past. He's not wearing a shirt. His pants are sagging. You can fill in the blanks on the rest of that one. He walks towards the end of that scaffold and is walking towards me. And then he turns around, but he starts walking really slowly. And I'm like, oh, I know what's going on here. And this all happens in my head very, very quickly. I'm like, this guy's going to try to jump me if they think or like that. And I'm like, if I run across the street, I'm showing weakness, and that's probably going to make this situation even worse or like that. So I'm like, let's just let him know that I'm ready for him. And it's a fight or flight moment. And I realize that I have fight more than flight in this situation, because I'm a pretty fast guy. I could run fucking pretty far if I want to. I think I maybe mentioned this to you, but so I'm walking, and I kind of walk with a fucking bit of a strut or whatever. And right as I'm walking up alongside of him, I fucking turn around and locked eyes with him. And I was thinking, if I see this guy reach down on anything, I'm going to jack this motherfucker up against that fucking scaffold. He's not going to stand a fucking chance. I'm going to, I've already got my game plan. And this all happens in a span of 15 seconds maybe. But I turned around and I had the fucking look ready going, and he fucking saw me, and I shook him. And then it was just kind of I was like, hey, how's it going, man? And then just kept walking. And I had that very tense moment where when I turned my back to him, I'm like, what's going to happen here? But nothing did. I'm here to tell this story to you.
Yeah, that's
now I saw a picture. You're a big motherfucking guy.
I'm a tall motherfucking guy.
Tall guy, but I mean, so I've always noticed that I'm always the smallest guy I hang out with. Nobody ever starts shit with me, but everyone wants to start shit with the big guy because it makes them feel good if they they can use that as their pathetic champion. Oh, you should have seen the guy, how big he was, I took down. And it's nobody gets any nobility out of fucking taking me out.
Yeah, I mean, I was usually the small guy, though. I was usually the small guy of the group.
Wrestlers.
Yeah, because I'm hanging. Yeah, exactly. But and I have the big mouth, so I become that guy. And
I remember being down in Myrtle Beach on spring break in high school where my buddies that really wanted to get into a fight. They were like, let's just use you as bait. That was actually what they said to me. They were like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, just, when you're walking up on people, just say fucked up shit. If they have a problem, we'll be right there. And I'm like, these are the people I grew up with. Like,
they know you pretty well. They know what you can do, what you're going to do.
But it's also the idea that they wanted to get into a fight that badly. It's like, it's
what we did.
Yeah, and then now it's all different. I mean, again, like the idea of that, like, I mean, I haven't been in a fight since I was 31 years old. Ironically, the last fight I was in was with a bouncer. But that used to be kind of the way that, me and that guy became friends afterwards. It was kind of the, you thought you could bully me around a little bit. I didn't kick your ass, but you didn't kick my ass. And it was like, afterwards, there was a mutual respect there. Now it's fucking someone's coming with a weapon or cops are going to get involved and it's all fucking bullshit. And these are the guys that act like the biggest of tough guys.
Right. Yeah. Who have never been punched in the face.
Everyone's got a plan. And like that's the thing. I remember I was telling someone the story. I played lacrosse and lacrosse is kind of you did? You were probably a defenseman then.
No, I wasn't. I was a midfielder.
Really? I was a defenseman.
You were a little defenseman.
So there's always one pesky little attackman that fucking, who always can work the refs because if you breathe on him, he just falls over and you get a push penalty. So I would do that. And I was also really good at running the clear play because as my father would say, it's amazing how fast a smaller body can run when a larger body is chasing after it. So I had in-game speed, we would call it. And it was mostly out of self-preservation, like kind of like how when Doug Flutie was in the NFL, it's like if I take a shot, which I did a few times and, probably had some issues that I should have gotten examined when that happened. But I don't know. Yeah. With the lacrosse thing, fuck where I was going with that. Oh yeah.
Getting beat up by big guys or taking on the little attacker.
Oh yeah, they're taking on the little attack guy. I was in a lacrosse camp at a prep school, and like I was only there because my father was working there, so I could go there for free. And I'm hanging out with these rich kids or whatever, and like they're big and they got muscles and stuff. And someone was talking, like something came up, and the people was acting like a tough guy, and I started telling a story about getting into a fight with a guy that it was a private school, and one of my buddies went to that school, and I talked about how I got into a fight with him. And this one guy who was acting like the biggest tough guy was like, he's like, does it hurt? And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, when you punch somebody in the face, does it hurt? I'm like, you mean when you get punched in the face? He was like, no, when you punch somebody. And I was like, are you fucking serious? You've never punched anybody in the face and you're acting like a tough guy? Like, holy shit. Like fucking like,
yeah.
It's going to be, we'll wrap it up on this one. It's going to be like Norm in the fucking cop scene.
Yeah.
With Artie, hi, real cops. I'd like to register a complaint.
Yeah, I fell asleep watching that movie last night. It was on TV. It happened to be on TV, man, and I was watching it, dude. I didn't get too far into it either, man. But so I was planning on coming in here and saying all these dirty work phrases throughout the whole podcast.
We can still finish with this one because this is how I know that you're my friend now, Rusty. Me and my one buddy, I'm not going to say his name. If we were ever held hostage by terrorists, we could form a full conversation just using quotes from Dirty Work. Like I would know what he means.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
He was a guy that got bigger and like, he would start giving me like, hey man, I don't need this shirt anymore. You want to wear it? And then I'd wear it out to the bar and he'd be like, hey, that's my Canadiens jersey. Like,
yeah.
Maybe we'd feel better after we have some dirty sex.
That's my shirt. No.
I was talking to somebody that was different than you.
I gotta go lift weights.
What?
Yes. I said that one a lot of times, and it goes over a lot of people's heads.
You thought my mom was a drug dealer? No. I thought she was a whore.
I those prostitutes. I mean, who are those girls?
I swear. Yeah. This requires no sex at all, regardless of what that character tells you. I actually own, and it's one of the greatest. I might be one of like 5 people on earth that owns the box set of the Norm Show.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, you might be.
I bought it, and like I still like I remember watching it, and people don't even know that thing existed, but it was as great as it was. Where Norm plays a social worker he was a hockey player that got caught gambling. And just some of the random guests they had in that one were just amazing. But Nobody even knows about that. But actually, this is what I wanted to ask you is that, obviously we're huge Norm Macdonald fans. Can you think of a more colossal disappointment? When we talked about the cast of Dirty Work, it's like, how could you not be funny? I mean, whatever.
Right.
The movie Screwed. How is that? That's almost hard for that movie not to be funny with everybody in it. I have watched that movie a few times. You never seen it?
No, I'm saying it's got Dave Chappelle. It's got Danny DeVito.
It's got fucking Sherman Helmsley. I mean, there's all these. I think Rhea Perlman's in there too. Like all of these fucking hilarious people. There is not one laughable moment in the movie.
Dude, I said that about fucking Harlem Nights too.
Never even saw that.
It
wasn't made for us.
No, it wasn't. And I was like, dude, there's so many fucking people. But yeah, Screwed, dude. Like, it has its moments, but yeah, it's nothing like what it could have easily been. Like
I just look at it going, like, did you guys not let whoever directed or wrote that movie go, no, you have to adhere to the script and allow no improv whatsoever? Again, like you said the other day, like, Dirty Work, Norm Macdonald doesn't even have to say a word. You could just use his facial expressions, which, by the way, is underrated as to how good of an actor he was, because that's like the hardest thing to do. And like, when I sent you that Farley scene, the one about the toxic couple, the fucking
with a Saigon whore.
Yeah. We're getting hit.
We're getting hit. Oh,
like I just go on with that, but like he didn't even have one like good reaction in that movie. It's just absolutely mind blowing to me that movie could be as bad as it was.
Yeah, Jimmy, your new nose looks great.
Best $200 I ever spent. Like, which. Now, I tell you, that movie, I watched it again. We watched it when we were teenagers. When I became a bar guy, I started knowing who the Jimmy No-Noses were of the world. Yep. Like, and you start picking up on that, old Jackson Odd Duck, as I stay over at the Y. Like, those guys that
he looks at me when I was sleeping, which is off-putting.
His feet bleed.
I don't want to stay with you.
Yeah, he had to get his knee drained last week. Yeah. It's a good thing too, because that thing was getting a little bit ripe. Right. This is again, like one of the guests I'm having coming on is this guy who actually is from England.
Okay.
And he was just, I'm like, I talked to him for like 2 minutes and he's so politically incorrect, which I don't know what the standards are over there. And I'm like, dude, we're going to have a great time. And he's like, yeah, he's like, cause fucking, he's like, we're just guys. We can talk about anything. He's like, women, they just like to gossip. And I'm just like, yes, let's save that for the show, please. Yep. Save that for the show, please. We could probably, if there was a Dirty Work con, like, how they have a con for everything now. Yeah. It literally could just be like, they wouldn't have to even have a celebrity there, because actually the only person that's alive from that movie is Farley at this point, or Chevy Chase is hanging on by a thread. Like, have you seen how his wife pimps him out now? Like in the area here, I remember wanting to get tickets for my mother because Christmas Vacation,
where he goes and like tells the story. I was looking at this, like, or he doesn't tell
the story. He's a fucking
posts it and says like two things while they
he's
play
as
the movie.
Alert as fucking Jimmy Carter was voting the other day. And like, I was going to get it for my mother because I was like, hey, like, this is a thing. My mother's in her 60s now. And like, it was like before Christmas. And I wanted to be like, hey, like you're not going to get a present on Christmas morning. I want to buy you, and my mother's remarried, like you and your husband, the tickets for that, because we love that movie. And I was like, and like, she was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. It starts at this time. Like, we're fucking asleep by 10 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I ended up seeing somebody that said they went to it, and they're like, it was the most god awful thing ever. And I wanted to punch his wife in the face because it's just a cash grab.
I want to say it was like $95 too for it. It was pretty fucking expensive. We were looking at it, and it was, I forgot where they were doing it. It was somewhere when we were living in Connecticut. But I saw that too, dude. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. I think it was at the casino at the Mohegan Sun. If I'm not forgetting that one, but I don't know, dude. Yeah.
And like, the thing is that, nobody feels bad for Chevy Chase because he was apparently a raging asshole. But like, as I always go on, like in sports, like, when you played sports, or like in general, the people that are best at what they do are usually the most difficult. And Chevy Chase of the 80s was, I'm sorry, he was the best out of all those motherfuckers. Actually, this is what I'm going to leave you with. This is one of my favorite questions to ask people. And since we have similar tastes in things, you're on a deserted island. Okay. You're going to be there for the rest of your life. You are allowed the collection of work of one actor or actress to last you a lifetime. Who are you choosing? It's a good one, isn't it?
Well, okay. So would this be for entertainment or for making me laugh every time I watch it?
It's their entire collection: movies, TV shows, cameo appearances, the whole 9 yards. Who's the guy you're going to choose? Because I know
Andy
my
Kaufman?
answer. Who was that?
Andy Kaufman?
You're going to choose Andy Kaufman? I mean, it's a
Because then I
extension.
can watch all the wrestling too. That's not like that I'd have to really hunt for. But I think I would probably say that. I don't. I don't know, man.
I
That's a
put you
tough
on the
one.
spot on that one, and that's a good one to think of. And you can always reply back to me because I already know what my answer. Or we did this before. I did it online, and the two common answers, and I have mine. A lot of people said Bill Murray. My answer was John Candy.
Dude, do you ever see Volunteers?
No,
So it's him and Tom Hanks, I believe. I think it's Tom Hanks, and he plays a guy, Tom Tuttle from Tacoma. I'm pretty sure it's called Volunteers. I'm almost positive. But dude, it's a pretty good movie, and it's one that got slept on for John Candy movies. So if you get a chance, if you're a John Candy guy, that's something.
I just remember one time, I forget I was in like my 30s, and I was talking to a girl that was maybe like, I was in a bar. So, she was at least 21, and I made some joke that was a John Candy line. And she was like, thought that was really funny. She's like, "Oh, you're so funny." I'm like, "Well, I wish I could take credit for that, but that was John Candy." And then she said, "Who was John Candy?" And I tell you, I didn't go from 6 to midnight. I went from midnight to 6. I was like, "Yeah, this is not going to work out. You're way too young for me." Like, that's just, if you don't know who John Candy is, like,
Yeah, and you got SCTV.
You get SCTV, but I'm sorry, but the Great Outdoors, fucking, who is Harry Crumb, fucking Uncle Buck. I mean, there's just a summer rental, just an endless brigade of planes, trains, and automobiles. It's just, it never stops. And then you get all the cameos. You get the Second City TV. You get fucking, I mean, shit, he was even in Cool Runnings or fucking,
Cool
Home Alone. You get all of that good shit. That it was just, John Candy was just, I think, the best. And we don't even talk about him. Like, the way that people talk about Farley, and I'm not saying that Farley doesn't deserve everything he has, but if you look at it, Farley has a very small body of work, which is probably so impressive that he is as highly regarded as he is. But John Candy is, it's just it's a tragedy that he's forgotten about almost to an extent, because he wasn't even controversial. He's just a fucking funny fucking guy. And him saying, "Take this quarter, go down to the bus station and find a fucking," that whole fucking speech is like, I centered my life around Uncle Buck, around Buck Russell as a degenerate gambler with a sketchy past, but still has a heart of gold.
Yeah, dude, man, fucking shout out to John Candy. And wasn't it, who was it? I believe it was it on what was it that they dedicated it? I want to say it was a Tool album, because he died like right before, or was it a Bill Hicks thing? He died like right before. I
want to say he died in like 94.
94. It was like right before Kurt Cobain died. It was a very, very close time between the two, and I believe
Canadian Bacon was his last fucking movie. Or no, he was in the one with Richard Wagons East, yeah, which is another movie where you have Richard Lewis and John Candy, and it's not even that funny. But Canadian Bacon, the fucking scene in the hockey arena where I just this Canadian bacon sucks, or this this Canadian beer sucks, and they said no swearing, and everyone's looking at him like he's swearing. He's like, "I don't know what the big deal is. All I said was that Canadian beer sucks," and the cops start beating him again. Like, that's a
Michael Moore movie.
Which, not for nothing though, is that movie and Wag the Dog. I don't think that it was a coincidence that they talked about manufactured wars, given the times that we live in these days.
Yeah.
Movies. Not many things are like you just mentioned the fucking wood chipper and Fargo earlier. Not many things are as original ideas as you would let on to be. Like, again, and they just had the anniversary of Pulp Fiction, and it's like, there is a fucking Zed somewhere out there.
Totally, dude. Yeah, that 30 fucking years, man.
30 years. And, did you see Thursday Night Football? They tried to like shoehorn in a reference where they had Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers like doing like dancing, to kind of like emulate the Travolta and Uma Thurman. And I'm like, look, if I was going to make it, I mean, there's a reason why I don't work in TV, because if I was going to reference Pulp Fiction, it would be with the GIMP. I want the Gimp backstory. I want to know how that happened. Was he there against his own will? Was he in on the act of it? Did he enjoy it? You know, like,
it's a good question. Asking the fucking hard-hitting questions here on your show, man.
This is what happens when I don't get a lot of sleep. The brain, it's like, you know how they say, like, when, you know, you go on a fast, your body kind of gets into like this like survival mode a little bit, and it actually enhances itself. I feel like I mean, it's going to probably end in a fucking really, really ugly situation if I don't, you know, start working on that a little bit more. But, you know, it's just things that pop in my brain that I haven't thought in for a while. And that was one of them.
Well, you're going to sleep great tonight, so you're fine with that, dude. At least you have tonight.
You're going to have to send me. I noticed when I watched my episode that I was on with you, which we'll plug all this to kind of wrap this up here. You know, Rusty, you're the host of the Public Access Podcast on Rusty Diamond's YouTube channel. You're available on Spotify. There's all kinds of links on here. Hypnosis is great. There's man of many, many accomplishments, and you claim to be a stay-at-home cat, but I'm
a stay-at-home cat dad.
Stay-at-home cat dad. Yeah. So, and you got them in Utah for free because they were the wrong color. So. Yeah,
dude. And then, so Leon Black, do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh my God. Fucking that's Leon. I could watch Curb Your Enthusiasm on silence and I would fucking laugh at that. I forgot that was his name, by the way, the Leon Black.
Yeah. So when we got Leon, he was always up in shithead's ass. Like he's trying to get all up in that ass, Larry. I'm getting all up in that ass, Larry. And so that's when we called him Leon Black, because we got him during Black History Month because they're giving away free black animals. And we were like, yeah, we were watching Curb at that point. I don't know how many times I watched it, but we were watching through it. And it's like, yeah, dude, he's trying to get all up in that ass. Got to call him Leon Black. And so
the big cock club or whatever with that, you know, Horse Cock Johnson's the president.
Right.
He's like, you know, we just get together and we just talk about it, you know, like,
dude.
And he's like, no, I couldn't bring you, man. It wouldn't work out.
Yes.
Oh, it's such a wrong, like that's what's great of that, you know, like we talked about this before, how there's people that can the norms don't apply to anymore, and Larry David and Curb and that whole setup, like everything is so politically incorrect, but they do it so well that you can get away with it. And that's what I like of that. It's a risky way to go about things, but when you nail it, it just shows how great comedy can be.
Yeah. And yeah, it should be fucking like that, man. They've done it.
Rusty, we went on for 2 hours. You and I could probably talk on end. So I'm going to cut this one short here. We're going to have to figure out. I can't wait to see what you did while you hosted my show for me, because, you know, the internet connection went out, and, you know, we'll kind of see. I might beep out a word or two I used in the beginning just because I did it then. But, you know, have you ever gotten into trouble for anything you've said on these, but with YouTube?
Ooh, I think my computer got zapped one time. I said something, but I'm not totally sure about that one. I had a brand new computer and I said something on a show, and then right after that, like, my computer all of a sudden didn't work. But I don't know if that's a coincidence or what. But as far as anything I've like said, I don't know, like people have probably not, but probably just what I say normally.
But I think I'm going to title this episode Black Cat Giveaways in Utah.
Cool. Love it. That sounds good, dude. I had a good time, man.
It's always a pleasure. I'll you know, we'll touch base again, or, you know, now, I mean, I legitimately consider you a friend. We can always message back and forth. And, you know, it's one of those things where I could probably drop you this one line from, I got an idea of all the movies you probably have seen that you would get. And that's good. And maybe one of these days we'll cross paths in the flesh, man. But until then.
Yeah. Well, it could have been worse, man. Hold on 1 minute. It could have been worse, man. I could have got my nose bit off by a Chinese whore.
Thank you. Good night. And then